Hi, it's Dorothy Guining with Scrapbooking Quebec, and today I'm here for the Scrapbook Nerd Online Shop. This video is a tutorial to create an interactive photo flip border for a scrapbook page, like the one you see on the right. For the left side of this project, it's a pretty easy scrapbook page, so I'm just going to walk you through the steps, but all measurements for photos and page parts will be written on the screen. So the material I'm using mostly comes from Vicki Boutin's Wildflower&Honey collection. I have a lot of stuff there, but of those papers I end up selecting 3 of them. I also threw in dies from Pink Fresh Studio, and that tape is a premium double-sided tape, and it's really important to this project because it's really tough, and to create anything interactive on a page you really need a tough tape. I'm going to list all the products I'm using in the information box below. I got them all at the Scrapbook Nerd, and I'll put a link to the shop in the comments below as well. First, I want to talk about the page. As you can see, it's completed here, but I just want to point out a few things. I did a frame style foundation with 3 pieces of paper, and I gutted 2 of them, and I'm just going to do a flip through of the border that we're going to make in a minute. As you can see, I have photos on the front of them, but I also have photos and journaling on the back side of these flips, and I did some decorating as well. So we'll get to that in a minute. For the left-hand side of the page, all I did was take a 4x6 photo, actually 6x4, it's horizontal. I trimmed it a bit, added a photo mat, and then I cut 6 strips of paper that measure 1 inch by 6 inch, and I did it in 3 patterns. So what I did was I adhered them to the page, 4 on top, then the photo with foam adhesive, and 2 at the bottom. And I added some faux stitching in the middle of the strips of paper. Then I made a large title in the large part at the top of the page, and I used some old Vicki Boutin titles. I have both of them there. I have the one from the most recent collection, from the Wildflower&Honey collection, but this one came from an older one, and it just worked with my page better. And then to finish off, I simply added 3 small embellishment clusters, 1 above the photo to the left, 1 below the photo to the right, and then a small repetition at the top of the title, that yellow heart, because there's yellow in the 2 other embellishment clusters, and I just wanted a bit of repetition. That's it, and those decorations came from the ephemera pack as well as the sticker book from that Wildflower&Honey collection. Now on to the tutorial. You need 3 pieces of cardstock. The measurements are on the screen. Those ones are a bit longer, and this 4th one, which is a little bit smaller. And finally, a 5th piece, which measures 4 inches by 2.5 inches. I have 6 photos, 4 larger photos and 2 wallet size. Now you can have up to 7 of the larger photos, but you need at least 4 of them. So now what I'm going to do is take the 3 larger ones. Those ones measure 4 inches by 6.25 inches, and I'm going to score each one of them at 1/2 of an inch. The one that's a little bit smaller, we're going to leave it as is. You'll see that in a minute. And the smallest one, take note, it's going to be scored in 3 spots, at 3/4 of an inch, at 1.25 inches, and at 1 3/4 inches. And what I'll do is I'll fold it in the middle, and then the 2 exterior score lines will be folded in the opposite direction. So basically that's going to be a binding for my book that I place at the top of this cascading photo border. Now what I'm going to do is adhere my photos to these photo mats. As you can see, I did some journaling in advance. You can do it beforehand or you can do it afterwards. But for the sake of this video, I'm going to pretend we're doing it afterwards. What's important when you are matting your photos is that you select the photo that you want to be on the bottom of this border, because that one has the shorter photo mat. And once that's determined, simply start adhering the photos to those photo mats. So as you can see, those ones that are a bit longer, it's just like a normal photo mat, except there's a 1/2 inch flap at the top of it. The one at the bottom is just simply going to have a classic photo mat that measures 1/4 inch larger than the photo. If you did your journaling in advance directly on these flaps like I did, when you score your cardboard, make sure you score it on the right side so that your journaling, once the flap is open, doesn't appear upside down. Now what I'm doing is adhering the bottom photo to the page. And what I'm doing is simply matching it up at the same level as the paper at the bottom on the left-hand side of the page. And for the distance from the side of the page, I want it to be equal to the opposite. I hope that makes sense. Now what I'm going to do is take the next photo, but these ones all have 1/2 inch scored tops that bend. And what I'm going to do is take that adhesive that I spoke about earlier, and I'm going to add it behind those flaps. What I'm doing here is just sort of measuring, eyeballing where I want these photos to fall. I want the top photo to line up with the border on the left-hand side of the page, and then I want them to be kind of equal distance. So I'm basically eyeballing it, and you saw me a minute ago take a pencil and just draw a line where I will place the top of that black cardstock. So now back to the tape. As you can see, I end up putting 2 pieces of this tape behind. I want it to be really, really strong. And I just put it behind that 1/2 inch flap. And now I'm going to adhere that flap to the page, exactly where I put that pencil line. What I'm doing though is I want to make sure it lines up perfectly on top of the photo that's beneath it. I want this to be a nice, straight, neat border. And once I'm happy with the placement, I simply take my finger and press it along where the adhesive is. And I'm going to do the very same thing to the next photo. This adhesive, like I said, I mentioned it earlier, it's so important for any kind of interactive element on a scrapbook page like this, where you have flaps that open up. You can make pockets with it. It's not expensive, but it's a fantastic tool to have if you don't have it. And it works absolutely fantastic for these types of projects. So I'm now putting this one down, and then I'm going to do the top one. But for the top one, I'm going to add that binding to it. You'll see that in a minute. But the binding, the front flaps of the binding are each 3/4 of an inch in width. That gives you a bit of room to play. So what I'm going to do with mine is, I have those dies from Pink Fresh Studio. They're called like Essential Edge dies or something like that. I will link them up below. There's all kinds of different ones, but they're very detailed. And I'm going to select a scalloped one that has a stitched edge. I absolutely love it. So I'm just going to add a little bit of detail to the front of that binding. Now, if you don't have this, you could take a border punch, you could maybe rip it a little bit, you could add some stitching, or you could just leave it as it is. I'm simply adding this for a little bit of visual interest, and they're really kind of fun little dies. They really are detailed, super, super cute. And once that's done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to slip the photo inside this binding. So that folded over, 1/2 inch folded over part at the top, that's where the 1/2 inch that's on top of the photo, the 1/2 inch cardstock that exceeds, that's where it's going to go. I'm going to literally place it up towards the middle fold of this binding. And what I did was I added some of this heavy-duty tape to the front of that and to the back of it. So what that tape falls in that 1/2 inch space that is above the photo. And I do the very same thing to the back. And now what I'm doing is simply adding some of that tape to the back. Again, I'm going to put 2 pieces, and that is going to be adhered directly to the page. So that is going to be my flap. Now you're going to see me, I totally fuss around with this a bit. I just really want to make it straight, and for some reason it wasn't looking straight for me, but I do end up succeeding. Now in a minute, what we're going to do is add some things to the back side of these flaps. Now, like I said, I did some journaling in advance, but you can do it afterwards. It's also a great spot to put, you know, those cut apart sheets, journaling boxes, things like that. But I had so much journaling to do. That's why I needed all the space behind that flap. That's why I did mine in advance. But what's really important for the back side of these flaps is to keep things flat. Already the border is 4 thick. It doesn't appear that thick on the page, but obviously you can't start adding dimensional adhesive or dimensional decorations behind these photos because it's just going to be too bumpy. So now what you're going to see me do is kind of test out my book a bit, and I did get my journaling in the right direction, thankfully. And what I'm going to do is add some photos and go into my ephemera and stickers and add some decorations. Now, I'm a conservative when it comes to decorating my pages. I don't add a whole lot of stuff. But when things are hidden, like this interactive book, I tend to loosen up a bit. So I am having fun with the decorations here, still keeping in mind that I got to keep it flat. What you saw me do there a minute ago is that the 3/4 inch flap that is on the back side of this binding was kind of loose. So all I did was add a bit of that double-faced tape behind it so that that flap as well was adhered to the page. If you're going to do this, you're going to see it, trust me. Anyway, now I'm adding some decorations, some stickers, some ephemera, and I'm moving on to page 2, which has quite a bit of journaling, but I do add that arrow, and I'm looking for a little word sticker to put on top of it. Like I said, I'm having a little bit more fun with this. It is a fun place to add decorations, and I'm not too worried about colors clashing or anything like that. I'm putting this photo down, but what you're going to see me do in a minute, I'm adding decorations, but I end up pulling it off because in the ephemera I found this frame, and I thought it would be a good opportunity to put around it because that odd looking tree, I forgot to write what it was in all that journaling. So with that frame, I have a little space below where at least I can explain that and why that photo is there. So I end up putting this down, and then I change the sticker that's at the bottom. And that's pretty much it, but I am going to talk a little bit about page protectors, because when you have these interactive elements on a page, what do you do for page protectors? Well, personally, I'm just going to leave mine as it is, and someone is going to have to be motivated to go and look for it. However, you can always cut flaps in your page protectors, no problem, and have the flaps stick out. Back to my page. As you can see, I wanted to put little tabs on this. So I'm trying different things, and there were like these tickets in the ephemera pack that I tried, and then I punched out these circles, and then I tried little flaps of paper. Well, the circles one, I quite like that, and I'm tucking it in under the photo, so it just looks like these half circles coming out from underneath the photo. And I want to reinforce it. I put it on the back as well, but I had to trim one of them so that it didn't cover up my journaling. And then I was looking for something to put on top of them. I ended up going with the titles pack from this collection. They had these like little wagon wheel type things that I thought looked pretty cute. So under a page protector, that looks pretty obvious that that is something to open. So yeah, anyways, that's what I ended up doing. I tried those word stickers, but I didn't end up liking them. Showing you the flap here, and basically that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the Scrapbook Nerd YouTube channel, as well as my channel, Scrapbooking Quebec. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to check out the Scrapbook Nerd Online Shop. They're getting new stuff all the time, and they have fantastic service. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.